Hey guys, it's your girl Samantha from Black Nation News, and I just wanted to give you an update on some of the stories I talked about earlier this week, I believe. So first, the story of the Moors, the rise of the Moors. I wanted to just give you guys a quick update of what's going on with them since they have were arrested a few days ago. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this video. Apparently they have been arraigned in court, probably I think yesterday or the day before. There's been they claim there's been chaos. I don't really know if that was happening, but they're not really being as cooperative, I guess, as white people want them to be. Some of them have said they want to represent themselves. So let me go ahead and play this video.
The hearings today via video conference, and they repeatedly interrupted the proceedings, sometimes actually insulting the judge. Now, the ones who were outside, they were much more polite, and they tried to shed some light on what this group believes. The defendants arrived at the courthouse in two separate convoys and under heavy security. Dozens of state troopers stood guard, and a police dog sniffed the grounds.
I'm from Earth, and I live in my body.
Friends, family, and fellow members of the group Rise of the Moors filed into the courthouse and said last weekend's hours-long armed standoff on I-95 was nothing more than a miscommunication and overreaction by police.
Obviously, that's what it is when you're in a place where there's no crime and police need something to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to take cats out of the trees for the rest of my life, so if I get something excited, I'm going to run over there and blow it out of proportion.
State law says anyone transporting firearms through Massachusetts without a local firearms license must keep them unloaded, locked, and in a vehicle trunk. Supporters of the men reject that.
These men did nothing illegal. There's something called the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms. You have the right to have a militia.
One man described Rise of the Moors as a civic organization that teaches about nationality, law, and history. That member was also wearing a swastika around his neck, which he insisted had nothing to do with Nazism.
It's an astrological symbol. It stands for the 4 points, the 4 cardinal points, the 4 elements. And also, as you look at it, it has 4 sevens around.
Many cultures, the swastika. For thousands of years, across many cultures, the swastika conveyed and still conveys only positive sentiments. To many people's surprise, the swastika can be found worldwide, also integrated in ancient buildings in Israel. It can also be found in some of the oldest churches on earth, in the rock church of Lalibela, Ethiopia. The Buddhists, Jains, and Hindus have used the swastika as a spiritual symbol throughout Asia. Today, it is shunned in the West due to a lack of understanding of the swastika's true origins and meaning, but mainly because it was hijacked by the Nazis, which gave the swastika a tarnished reputation which it does not deserve. Most people are unaware of the integrated use of the swastika entwined with the U.S. and North America's past, mainly with good luck and well-being in the late 1800s and early 1900s. As you can see, the U.S. accepted this symbol long before the Nazis befouled it. Extensively used in the U.S. as a sign of protection, as stated on this emblem. May this emblem protect you well from every bullet, every shell. Also on the early French and U.S. Air Force planes, the Finland Air Force and military medals, and even on the Finland presidential flag and the U.S. flag, referred to here as a lucky star. In the U.S., the swastika was also used on a corporate level, on Coca-Cola bottles, American Boy Scouts, and even in minting the early 1900 coins and poker chips. Not only was the swastika used by the U.S. military and corporations, but also by Canadian male and female hockey leagues. Before Americans embraced the swastika, the native people, such as the Navajo, used the swastika as their spiritual symbol, seen here on early rugs, carpets, and quilts. Even Jackie Bouvier Kennedy can be seen here in native dress attire. was even used in landmarks, highway markers, and on the Laguna Dam in Arizona, built in the early 1900s. Also, there's a swastika town in Ontario, Canada, and one in the U.S., Clinton County, New York. The swastika is a symbol of the scientist who created us, which is why we find it on every continent, usually associated with spiritual and peaceful groups. The swastika has been a symbol of peace and well-being for millions of Buddhists, Hindus, and for Raelians as well, as it is their symbol of infinity, time, and a symbol of eternity. Discrimination is not only found in Europe and all parts of the U.S., it is also found down under in Australia. Having a peaceful exhibit informing the public of the true meaning of the swastika, surprisingly, the police showed up, harassing the peaceful exhibit, threatening and arresting the leader of the Australian movement, Jovenel, who was taken to jail with no explanation of charges, just pure discrimination.
Did you see what happened?
That's not all right.
Did you see what happened?
Yes, they didn't do nothing wrong. Only to show the peace and love.
Banning cannot solve anything. Education is the only way. Children should be taught at school about the beauty of this ancient symbol of peace and harmony, instead of always being referred to as used by the Nazis. This is why Rael, founder and leader of the International Raelian Movement, initiated the idea of a World Swastika Rehabilitation Day, which takes place every year in cities around the world.
Buona Swastika Day!
Around it was 4 times 7 is 28, and 28 represents, the moon cycle woman.
Round of suspects and how those court hearings were pretty chaotic. Today, more suspects were in court, and there were more arguments and more disruptions. Meanwhile, we learned the extent of the firepower the group allegedly was carrying.
This is a gentleman!
A second day of outbursts in a Malden district courtroom. 2 more suspects faced a judge, part of a group accused in a standoff with police in Wakefield Saturday.
If you will tell us your name.
Refusals and arguments with the judge continued as the suspects dispute the court's authority.
You're trying to force me into a jurisdiction that doesn't apply to me. And that's unlawful.
Prosecutors say a group of 10 men and 1 teen were found on the side of I-95 wearing military fatigues, body armor, and carrying high-powered weapons. They were traveling from Rhode Island to Maine for some type of training.
This was a group effort to transport these guns and to possess these guns and to act in this way.
Court documents reveal what was found in the suspects' vehicles: shotguns, pistols, and rifles, some semi-automatic and loaded, hundreds of rounds of ammunition and loaded magazines.
Determined through these conversations that nobody was apparently licensed to drive these vehicles, let alone possess these rifles and other guns.
The suspects claim to be part of a militia group and continue to spar with the judge over procedural matters.
In which case I will deem based. In which case, sir, again, we're both speaking.
Now all the suspects remain behind bars tonight. They'll return to court Friday for scheduled dangerousness hearings. Live at the Malden court.
I don't know what was dangerous about what they were doing. It sounded like they were minding their business, and the cops were pretending like for once they were trying to help somebody who's on the side of the road. 'Cause I've never seen a cop pull over and care about anybody on the side of the road with their lights flashing. I see so many cars sitting on the side of the road, nobody cares. So they're pretending that was their purpose, but I really think they were probably already, like they said, they already had them in their radar, in their sights, and I think they were, probably following them from jump and just trying to find a reason to pull them over, or to just arrest them. So they're pretending, oh, it was for this, because they don't want to make it seem like they just have this unlawful arrest or whatever. So they're like, oh, we're gonna pretend like we're checking up on you guys, and then, oh my gosh, you have all these guns, all these weapons, oh my gosh. But they already knew who these men were, And as the guy said, they were going for training, but of course they're trying to paint a whole different picture, like they were up to something. That's white people stuff. That's not black people stuff. To be just blowing up things and shooting, mass shootings, all that. Like, black people don't do that. That's just not a normal thing to do. I have an idea, like, who these people are as far as the sovereign citizens. I've heard about that ideology, and I kind of agree that black people did not subscribe to these laws that were created. We were still enslaved, so how could we agree to abide by these laws? So I don't know. I just feel like it's BS. I feel like we should be immune. We were dragged here. We did not ask to be here. They made a lot of laws when we weren't even free yet. So I didn't see them hurting. They had not hurt anyone. And like she said, you have the right to bear arms. I don't remember saying anything about you have to have licenses. Like, who are these white people to say you have to have a license? White people always like to try to police somebody and tell them what they need to be doing. Like they're like the morals of the world. It's like, give me a break. You guys have the worst behavior known to man. Your history is just completely deplorable, and I'm just disgusted. I think they're trying to trump up some charges so they can keep them behind bars longer than they really should. I don't know what they did that was wrong. I think they're trying to act like, oh, they were trafficking guns, or they're doing. Do you have any proof of that? All they said they were doing was going to Maine for training. All these white people are constantly, quote unquote, hunting, going to gun ranges. Their kids are coming out their mom's vagina with a gun in their hands. So give me a freaking break. So let me go ahead and update you guys on the next. So they said among those detained in the assassination of the Haitian president, one may be an American. Let's roll the clip.
Arrests on the street of Port-au-Prince Thursday after an army police operation against heavily armed mercenaries. Mercenaries, authorities say, are responsible for the brazen assassination of Haiti's president, Jovenel Moise, early Wednesday.
6 of the attackers have been arrested. Now we're looking for the masterminds of the attack.
Police say the men who posed as US DEA agents to gain entry to the private presidential residence included foreign nationals. This audio circulating on social media purported to be of the time of the assassination. With men shouting that they are drug enforcement agents in English, though the audio cannot be authenticated by CNN. Police, seeming to acknowledge the rising tide of anger in the wake of the attack, are urging citizens not to take the law into their own hands. Still, many in the Haitian capital are asking just how such a bold attack could have been allowed to happen.
Where they come from? What country sent them? Who bought them over here? How the guns got transferred here? How they got all these ammos?
In an interview with CNN, Haiti's acting prime minister did allude to the context surrounding the assassination, but stopped short of outlining a motive.
We all know that President Moise was really committed to some actions against the oligarchs in Haiti. So we know that in the last days, he spoke about the consequences that those actions can have on his own life.
Already a nation rife with political instability, gang violence, and humanitarian crises exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, fears from neighboring nations that the presidential assassination may push Haiti over the edge. But Haiti's interim prime minister insisting upcoming elections will still take place, despite the nation's upheaval.
The constitution is clear. I have to organize elections and actually pass the power to someone else who is elected.
Okay, so that's what's going on with that. Apparently they have some people in custody. Said that one person could even be American. Okay, so they said there's 6 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans who were involved in the killing. What do they mean Haitian American? So I'm confused by that. So do you have dual citizenship? Did you get citizenship in America, but you were Haitian, but then you went back to kill the president of Haiti. It's definitely different. Very interesting. So, let's see here. They basically apprehended 6 people. No, 8 people altogether. It's weird because they said 6 people were in custody. This is strange. So 6 people were in custody, but up here it says there's 8 people total. They said that Acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph said there's 6 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans involved in the killing. So I'm trying to think. Does this mean that 2 were still on the run out of these 8 up here? Because then now it says 6 people are in custody. It said Haiti Chief of Police Leon Charles at a press conference in Port-au-Prince. And then he said Haitian authorities have apprehended those who perpetrated the attack and now looking for the masterminds behind it. So there's like 2 people that are missing, that are not in custody. It says 7 suspects were killed in a gun battle with security forces in Port-au-Prince on Wednesday. 4 died on the scene, and the rest succumbed to their wounds at a hospital. Wait, so all the people that did this attack are dead? Except like 2 people? I'm just lost. The numbers aren't adding up. 7 suspects were killed. But here it says they have 6 people in custody. How many people was it all together? I'm just so lost. Let's see, we have... They said the Haiti ambassador to the United States, Boshit Edmond, described the suspects as foreign mercenaries and said he believed they had received assistance from Haitian nationals, but officials have divulged few public details on the attack. And then the State Department spokesperson... the Haitian National Police have requested investigative assistance, and the U.S. is responding to that request. State Department spokesperson Ned Price told reporters, Price said the situation is evolving rapidly. Okay. So Moise's death takes place against a background of extreme violence in the capital Port-au-Prince, which has claimed the lives of many citizens in recent weeks. Haiti was already dealing with political turmoil, a growing humanitarian crisis, and a worsening COVID-19 epidemic. They said the assassination also leaves a huge power vacuum in Haiti. Its parliament is effectively defunct, and 2 men are simultaneously claiming to be the country's rightful prime minister. Yeah, because I noticed they said that Claude Joseph, who was just talking, he's saying he's the prime minister, but I'm pretty sure they said that the former Haitian president who was just murdered had actually elected someone else to that position. So that's just like a lot of corruption and, just bad things right there. So they said Joseph has not been confirmed by Parliament. He's supposed to be replaced by Ariel Henry. He was in the process of being replaced by Ariel Henry, whom the president appointed shortly before his death. Henry told the Haitian newspaper Le Nouvelliste that Claude Joseph is not prime minister. He is part of my government. Sounds like a lot of power struggle going on and a lot of hot mess. It's like, come on, people. Get yourselves together. Something that just gets so annoyed with black people. Like, why can't we act like we have some sense? Like, why can't we just fall in line, And I don't know if that's my military training, but respect the chain of command and act like you have some sense, because when you guys are bickering amongst each other, then you see what happens as it goes down the line. The citizens are just out of control. And why should they be acting like, perfect citizens when their government is corrupted and can't even get themselves together? So that's that story for that. Third news story update, Nikole Hannah-Jones. So I just have to say I'm really happy to hear that she declined the offer from UNC that came too little too late. and she decided to go with the HBCU, which is where she should have been from the beginning. And I feel like her story just furtherly teaches black people that we thrive when we stick together. Us being united, black people being united, is the white supremacist's greatest fear. So let's go ahead and read how things are going with her in her new digs, and to see how she's enjoying her new journey. With she's at Howard. So 10-year struggle ends with Hannah Jones charting new course. Let's see. So a black investigative. Hold on a second. This is out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They said a black investigative journalist who won a Pulitzer Prize for her groundbreaking work on the bitter legacy of slavery in the U.S. announced Tuesday that she will not join the faculty at the University of North Carolina following an extended tenure fight marked by allegations of racism and conservative backlash about her work. Nikole Hannah Jones will instead accept a chaired professorship at Howard University, a historically black school in Washington, D.C. The dispute over whether North Carolina's flagship public university would grant Hannah Jones a lifetime faculty appointment had prompted weeks of outcry from within and beyond its Chapel Hill campus. Numerous professors and alumni voiced frustration, and black students and faculty questioned during protests whether the predominantly white university values them. And I just want to say really quickly, first of all, we welcome Nikole Hannah Jones. Please don't be here in D.C. cooning. I have to go ahead and say that because I think she's had some sketchy things in her past. But black people need to just stay on code and do better. We could just be so much stronger. And yes, she's biracial, I know. So, of course, we can't really see her as just black. I do think they should have their own race just because of the advantages and the way that they're perceived in the world. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. She's half black. So, but I like to make sure I think people should know what they are, because sometimes biracial people like to jump from one race to the other, and we black people who are fully black should be prepared for that and not be blindsided by it. I wanted to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say. I was reading and I was thinking about something. I used to live in North Carolina, outside of right near the Chapel Hill campus, I think, if I can recall correctly. That was many years ago. Let's see here. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So this is just kind of reminding me of what was going on with Cornel West when they didn't want to give him tenure at the college that he typically spoke and worked at. So I think at that point when they did that to Nikole Hannah Jones, black people had just about had it. It's like they're good enough to teach here and bring you, money and notoriety, but they're not good enough to make official. And that's why we need to stop asking white people to accept us and include us in their BS, their vanilla schools to begin with. Said Harvard reversed the course and offered Cornel West consideration for tenure after public outcry, he says. This was March 11, 2021. In an interview with the Crimson on Tuesday, Professor Cornel R. West, 74, said Harvard changed, 1974, said Harvard changed course following public pressure and offered to consider him for tenure, but the fact that this reversal came only after external scrutiny merely solidified his decision to leave the university. In D.C., let's see here. So it says the 45-year-old Hannah Jones will instead accept a tenure position as the Knight Chair in Race and Journalism at Howard, which also announced Tuesday that award-winning journalist and author Ta-Nehisi Coates is joining its faculty. Coates, who won a National Book Award for Between the World and Me and Hannah Jones have both been given MacArthur Genius Grants for their writings. Hannah Jones's tenure application was submitted to UNC's trustees last year, but it was halted after a board member who vets the appointments raised questions about her non-academic background. Instead, she was initially given a 5-year contract, despite the fact that her predecessors were granted tenure when appointed. Last week, the trustee board, after weeks of mounting pressure, finally voted to offer tenure. UNC Journalism School Dean Susan King, who supported Hannah Jones throughout her application, said in a statement that she hopes that UNC can learn from this long tenure drama about how we must change as a community of scholars in order to grow. The university's enrollment is approximately 60% white and 8% black. More than 30 faculty members of the Hussman School of Journalism and Media signed a statement Tuesday saying they supported Hannah Jones' decision and decrying the appalling treatment of one of our nation's most decorated journalists by her own alma mater. We will be frank, it was racist, the statement said. Asked if she agreed with their assessment, Hannah Jones told AP that the facts speak for themselves. If there is a legitimate reason for why someone who has worked in the field as long as I have, who has the credentials, the awards, or the status that I have, should be treated different than every other white professor who came before me outside of race, I would love to hear that explanation, she said. I haven't heard it yet. Hannah Jones's and Coach Howard appointments are supported by nearly $20 million donated by 3 philanthropic foundations and an anonymous donor, gifts meant to bolster Howard's investment in black journalists, the university said. At such a critical time for race relations in our country, it is vital that we understand the role of journalism in steering our national conversation and social progress, Howard President Wayne I. Frederick said in a news release. Coach celebrated his return to Howard, which is his alma mater. This is the faculty that molded me. This is the faculty that strengthened me, Coach said. Personally, I know of no higher personal honor than this. He could actually say higher personal and professional honor. But, okay. But anyways, in her written statement, Hannah Jones cited political interference and the influence of a powerful donor to the journalist school, a reference to Arkansas newspaper publisher Walter Hussman. He has acknowledged in past interviews that he emailed university leaders challenging her work is highly contentious and highly controversial. Hussman, whose name adorns the UNC Journalism School after he pledged a $25 million donation, said in his phone interview Tuesday that he still has concerns about the 1619 project, but that he respects Hannah Jones. Anyways, so I really felt a sense of regret that we were never able to get together and never had a chance to sit down and talk to her, he said. What excites Hannah Jones most about her Howard appointment, she said, is the opportunity to help mold a new generation of journalists to serve as the truth tellers in our democracy. Unfortunately, for far too long, the institutions that are training black journalists haven't been able to get the type of resources they needed to really compete and gain entry into newsrooms at the rate that they should. And I believe that we can change that. While it's unfortunate how this came about, and I'm deeply saddened by what happened with my alma mater, this is not a consolation prize, she said of her new position at Howard. This hopefully also sends a message to other black folks who've gotten to a certain status in their career that we can come home and build our own. And she couldn't have said it any better than that. She could not have said it any better than that. See, black people are getting tired of white people's racism. They created this bullshit. We didn't ask for it. We have just been asked to be treated fairly and like humans. Not asking for a whole lot. And they just keep doing what they do. And we're tired of it. We're fucking sick of it. We've tried everything. And I know in my generation, we aren't here for the games anymore. You know, we tried it. We're over it. We are just fine separating from all that white crap and just building our own communities and our own schools and our own jobs and banks and churches and everything else. Just all black. Our own programming, TV programming, our own media, our own magazines, our own hair products, our own, fashion and clothing and manufacturing. And we don't need whitey. We don't need them. They need us before we need them. I'm going to say that till I'm dead and gone. they need us. Like, they brought their trifling asses to Africa to come get us because they couldn't farm a lick of nothing. And to this day, they need us before we need them. So, I love this. Aaron Morrison's a reporter of this article, and he says he's a member, trainer, and mentor for the Ida B. Wells Society for Investigative Reporting, which Hannah Jones co-founded. That means a lot, because I'm like a news junkie. I never thought of myself as like going into journalism, but I definitely love following the news. I didn't really get into it until like I became an adult, but my grandmother was always watching the news when I was a little girl growing up. My mom was always watching the news, and at this point, I guess it's just genetics. I just love the news. So let me know what you guys think of these stories. I just want to do a quick update of these 3 stories that have been on my mind, and just wanting to keep an eye, which I will continue to do, on these 3 stories, especially the one with the rise of the Moors, just to see how they're being treated, because I really hate that they are in this mass incarceration system. I don't think that what happened with them was right. So yeah, you guys just post your comments below if you have any, and let me know what you think of my content as well. You can email me at the blacknationnews@gmail.com. I would love to hear your feedback. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, guys, and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are posted. As you can see, I'm back. I took a 2-year hiatus off. I had some personal things going on, but I am back, and I'm strong, and I'm not going to leave you guys again. So I love doing what I do, and I definitely am looking forward to a long relationship with you guys and giving you the news from a black perspective. So yeah, send me stories as well if you have any stories you want me to research or investigate, or speak my commentary on it. And yeah, so until I see you guys again, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.